Welcome to our latest explainer. Today, we are tackling something literally every single one of us has experienced. Whether you're a frustrated customer waiting ages for a simple response or an employee just drowning in a totally chaotic inbox, we've all been there. We're going to break down the hidden mechanics of business efficiency. Okay, let's dive into this and analyze process cycle efficiency in customer workflows.
Seriously? Why do simple customer requests take so long? You hit submit on a form, it feels like a 2-second job, and yet it takes days to hear back. Well, today we're uncovering the hidden reality behind everyday business workflows and figuring out exactly where all that time actually goes.
Section 1. A real business workflow, the journey of a request.
So, to really get a handle on this, let's step out of Theoryland and follow a single, totally normal customer request from start to finish. Our realistic scenario for today is processing a customer service request for an account upgrade. We're going to track this one request from the exact moment the customer clicks submit all the way to the final confirmation. And the absolute secret to our analysis here is that we must carefully separate the time someone is actually working on the request from the time that request spends just sitting around, completely idle, waiting in a queue.
Section 2. Mapping the process steps. Action versus inaction.
We are going to break down the anatomy of this specific workflow into 4 distinct operational steps. By walking through the process chronologically, we can map out exactly what happens. First up is step 1, intake, where the system automatically captures and sorts the request. Next is step 2, verification, where a human associate actually checks the customer's uploaded documents. Step 3 is approval. That means a manager reviews and signs off on the upgrade. And finally, step 4, activation, where the IT system provisions the account and fires off an automated confirmation email. It seems like a super simple, straightforward progression, right?
Well, the real story emerges when we contrast the actual value-added process time against the massive non-value-added queue time for each step. At intake, it takes just 5 minutes to process, but the request just sits there in a queue overnight waiting for review for a whopping 14 hours. In verification, the associate spends 15 minutes checking documents, but then it just hangs out in a manager's digital inbox for another 6 hours. The manager takes a quick 10 minutes for approval, but afterward, it waits for an IT system batch update cycle for another 4 hours. Only the final 5-minute activation step has zero queue time. Section 3. Calculating total lead time. Let's do the math. To figure out the total time the customer actually experiences from their point of view, we first need to define our terms, so we're all on the exact same page. Total lead time, or LT, is the entire clock time it takes for a single item to make it through the whole value stream from start to finish. To figure this out, it's actually really simple. We just add all the process times and all the queue times together. First, let's look at the active work. Adding up the 5 minutes of intake, 15 minutes of verification, 10 minutes of approval, and 5 minutes of activation gives us exactly 35 minutes. That is our total process time. Keep that in mind. Just 35 minutes of actual human or machine effort goes into processing this entire account upgrade. Now let's look at the waiting. If we grab those idle hours from earlier, 14 hours plus 6 hours plus 4 hours, we get 24 hours of total queue time. To keep our units consistent for the formula, let's convert that into minutes. That gives us 1,440 minutes. I'm just going to pause for a second to let that massive disparity sink in. 35 minutes of real work versus 1,440 minutes of pure waiting, basically just spent staring into the digital abyss. So, combining the two parts of our formula, we reveal a total lead time of 1,475 minutes. That translates to a full 24 hours and 35 minutes. From the customer's perspective, they have been waiting an entire day and then some for an upgrade that practically took just over a half hour to actually execute. Section 4. The efficiency shock. Revealing the real math. Now, what's really interesting about this is how we grade the true efficiency of this workflow. We use a metric called process cycle efficiency, or PCE. Some folks call it the value-added ratio. It tells us exactly what percentage of the total lead time was actually spent adding real value to the customer. The formula is beautifully straightforward. You take the total process time, divide it by the total lead time, and multiply by 100 to get your final percentage. Okay, here is the math punchline. We plug in our numbers, 35 minutes of process time divided by 1,475 minutes of total lead time equals 0.0237. Multiply that by 100, and we get a shockingly low process cycle efficiency rate of just 2.37%. Breaking this down makes the reality even more staggering. That tiny 2.37% slice, that represents the value-added work. The massive 97.63% chunk is entirely non-value-added waiting. That means for over 97% of the time, the customer spent waiting for their upgrade, their request was just sitting completely idle in a digital queue, entirely untouched by any human or machine. Section 5, Traditional versus Lean Thinking, the paradigm shift. So how did different types of managers react to data like this? Well, this brilliantly illustrates the core lesson of today's explainer. A traditional manager sees this process and tries to cut costs by pressuring their employees to work faster. For instance, they might force the verification associate to cut their processing step from 15 minutes down to 10 minutes. But saving those 5 minutes only drops the total lead time from 1,475 minutes to 1,470 minutes. That is a completely imperceptible difference to the waiting customer. A lean manager, on the other hand, looks at the 14-hour overnight queue and the 6-hour inbox delay. They focus their energy on designing a workflow where those digital handoffs are automated or balanced, completely slashing hours of waste from the workflow rather than just rushing the workers. Which leaves us with this provocative final thought. Look closely at your own daily processes, whether you're managing a huge team, waiting on a service yourself, or just organizing your day-to-day tasks. Where are the hidden cues in your own workflow? How much of your lead time is actual, valuable work, and how much is just waiting? Keep analyzing your systems, look for the inactive time, and you might just unlock a massive leap in your own efficiency.